Welcome to Dragon Tales. I'm Sandra Pelly, the Dragon Ally. In this podcast, we explore the magical world of dragons, from connecting with your dragon and building relationships to dragon energy. Each episode dives into the transformative power of dragons. Why dragons, you might ask? They are powerful allies in our spiritual journeys, helping us unlock our inner strength and transform our lives. Join me to explore topics like meeting your dragon, dragon eggs, and dragon light language, as well as personal stories from our community. Discover how your inner dragon can guide you. Ready to embrace your inner dragon? Subscribe to Dragon Tales, visit our website, follow us on social media, and join our community. Let's take flight together. Woohoo! I am so excited. This beautiful gentleman, Kevin, is here, the English mystic, and he is really connected into dragon energy. And that's what this Dragon Tales is truly all about, is really how are we as humans and humanity connecting into the dragon energy. And that's coming from so many different levels. And what I love about this beautiful soul is that for a number of years, he has provided people with an even bigger opportunity to get involved in this dragon energy and has really opened up the doors. And in fact, I think that in the big realm of awareness, I really truly believe that you are probably one of the bigger influences with regards to bringing people into alignment with dragon energy. I know you've been a very, very profound influence on my own, to the point where I actually have also been on your summits, your Dragon Thunder summits, and on your podcast. So without further ado, I would really love to introduce you. Here is Kevin, the English mystic, and he'll tell you a little bit about himself and how he got into dragons.
It's great to be here, Sandra. Thank you very much. Yeah, and yeah, you've been on the 2023, and then we've just done a recording recently for the 2024 Galactic Dragon Thunder Summit. So we've gone galactic. I think last year we were international, and this time we've gone galactic, which is beautiful.
Love it.
Yeah, English mystic. Why English mystic? People go, why is that? And like many people that get into sort of spirituality and energy healing, you end up picking up lots of gifts, don't you? So I'm a Reiki master, Rahanni celestial energy healer, and a shamanic practitioner, and I've got all my accreditations and diplomas and all this of it. And it's like, if you put that in a title, it's really long. And I was like, well, I'm English. And that all is sort of mysticism. So I call myself the English mystic, and I like to think of myself as a soul that's embodied in this human being this time around, and probably been here many times before, and probably have been in energy healing many times. I mean, I didn't start in energy healing like many people. I went into the corporate life, and I've spent nearly 4 decades in technology, until my soul started shaking me and waking me up, probably about 20 years ago. And like many other people, it took a while and a few dark nights of the soul to truly figure out who I was and why I was here and what I wanted, and went through many different sort of routes. And now I've sort of, Shamanism really is the one that's called me. And that's where the dragons first started coming in, which is yeah, powerful beings, that's for sure.
Mm. I want to just kind of hone in on a couple of things you said there, because I think this is very relatable. First of all, you came from a corporate background and into as you mentioned, mystic, the metaphysical, what have you.
Mhm.
And I came from a background where I was a brakeman on freight trains. I was in
Wow.
the janitorial field in oil field companies. And yet here I am now walking this incredibly magical spiritual path. And I really wanted to highlight that for you and I and for the audience, for the one main reason: background doesn't matter. It's going to grab you, and it grabs you, and just flow with it, right? Yeah. So what was your first dragon experience?
Oh, my parents tell me that I used to talk about dragons when I was a child, but I don't remember that. I do remember there was a lion that used to come in, and I remember seeing horses and things like that, but I don't ever remember the dragons. So maybe they were there, and I forgot about them, like you do when you grow up,
Mhm.
let's say. And then so Dragon. When I look back, dragons have been around all the time. Like I've watched all the dragon films and read the books about dragons, so they've always been there, but never full frontal, let's say. Um, so I just went through life like you do, and did all my corporate stuff. And one day I was riding this beautiful horse. That's I'm the human too, and she's 29 now, and she's absolutely gorgeous. A great big black Shire horse with a white blaze, white nose, and we were out riding, and we've done this ride many times. We used to go for a little hack, i.e. walk, and then we go for like a mad gallop around this big field. And one day we went out as normal, and for some reason she was afraid of something, which is totally not her. Like she walked past combine harvesters and people drilling things and balloons and not worry about it. I was like, bit strange. Oh, well, not to worry. So we went the long way round, which was like another sort of 10 minutes to the journey. It wasn't the end of the world. So we went for our gallop and charged around and had an amazing time. And then walking back, sort of steaming as you do, and there's a nice smelly horse underneath you. And I was going to go back past where she wouldn't go past just to see what was there. And she got close to it and she was like, no, I'm not going. I was like, this is very strange. So I sort of like tapped her a bit, like, come on. She was like, no. And I was like, okay. What's she seeing? So I thought maybe she saw a shadow that she thought was a lion or something. So I was looking like you do. I was like, I can't see anything. Yeah, it's just a normal bit between two fields. Can't see anything. There was a tree and some bushes, and there was a sheep in the distance. I was like, she's not afraid of sheep. So I was like, okay, I'm going to tap into my inner strength and go, who's there? And I thought that was a bit pathetic. So I was like, okay, something's scaring my horse that's like extremely courageous. It must be something there that I'm not seeing, you know. So I was like, you know, like you do when you pull your courage together. Like, who's there? I was thinking, I'm glad I'm on my own because this looks a bit silly. I'm talking to a bush. It didn't burst into flame or anything, and God didn't appear, but something shimmered in the field beyond the bush. I was like, okay, what's that? So I sort of seeing a mirage, and then I was like, hold on a sec, that looks like a tail. And my brain's going 100 miles an hour. My horse is like, and then it just grew, and it was a leg, then it was a wing, then it was a body, then it was a front leg, then it was a neck, and it went up to this huge big head. And it was, if you've ever seen a London double-decker bus, it was about as big as that. It was huge, and it was. Oh, I now know it's a water dragon, but at the time I wasn't sure what it was. But I now know it was a water dragon, so I could see through it. And I was just like looking at it thinking, what the rude words. In the moment I thought that, I was like, what does it want? It wants to eat my horse or me. And my horse at that moment is thinking it wants to eat me. So she turns, went like a complete circle the other way. I'm like, I'm almost falling off. And but in that moment, I was like, I sensed, I'm watching you. I was like, ooh. And my horse by that time has just had it, lost it, you know, fight or flight. So she just galloped home, me hanging on. We got to the other end and the gate was shut and somebody opened the gate. What's she seen? What's she seen? I was like, oh, she's seen a monster. I didn't tell anyone for days, understandably, thinking I'd lost the plot. I've been working too hard. And so that was my first experience of a dragon literally landing in the field. And I now know that it came to basically like dragon slap me and go, wake up, you need to get on your mission, stop all this corporate stuff. It's time for you to do what you signed up to do in this earthly life. So yeah, it was quite awakening.
And just really feeling into the energy of that, and recognizing that there will be something that appears. And I love your recognition that it wasn't appearing by looking out your human eyes. It was when you chose to step kind of into a different way of looking at it
Yeah.
that it appeared. Very, very powerful. I'm just, like I said, I'm just kind of sitting in the energy of this because I recognize you said something about, in essence, you recognize that that was the end of this type of life and now moving forward into this type of life that you have. It's been basically, you've got other plans in life. And I think that was a big turning point for myself too. It wasn't necessarily around dragons, but I continually injured myself to the point where I was starting to wonder if the next one would actually be deadly
Wow.
because the way I was head injuries, etc. And it was at in one of those moments in speaking with someone that a spirit guide came through and basically let me know that we're asking you to wake up. We're asking you to wake up so that you can do what you're actually meant to do here. So I
Yeah.
can definitely relate to this, and ideally the audience will hear and see something in our stories that really help them to recognize their pathway.
Mhm.
So I heard you mention shamanism.
Yeah.
I too, I love, and I I I am a believer that yes, there are definitely those who walk the path of the human pathway of becoming a shaman. And then
Mhm.
there are those of us, myself included, that tap into the energy and are given the way of the shaman. And how is dragon energy coming in with shamanism for yourself, Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, for me, many people talk about shamanism, and I must make the point that I'm a shamanic practitioner. I don't call myself a shaman. I think people are born into shamanism. I mean, for example, in Peru, I go to Peru quite often, and if you're born to be a shaman, then invariably something happens to you, like you'll climb a mountain and you'll get struck by lightning once or twice and you'll survive, but one of your arms is gone almost, and so they're sort of born into it, and it's you're chosen. But we're able to learn like Reiki, Rahanni, shamanism, and all these other beautiful healing modalities. But we aren't shamans; we're practitioners. So I have to sort of just say
Thank you.
that.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, and then for me, the first time I had a healing from my shamanic teacher, she said you've got an attachment, which I'd hurt my shoulder, and what often can happen when you hurt your shoulder, something comes in to help heal it, or whatever part of your body, but sometimes it doesn't go, and it then actually becomes the other way around, where it's rather than healing you, it sort of sucks some of your energy and it sort of replays the injury. And I just said it's just not getting right. And she said, "Well, let's just check in." So she checked in, and there was and let's call it an entity on my arm. And she said, "Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to call on my dragon, and the dragon's going to come in and persuade it to go. It's not going to kill it. It's going to take it somewhere where it needs to live its life somewhere else, not on you." And I was like, "You use dragons? Wow, this is good." And by that point, I'd met my dragon in the field, and I was like, so I told her that whole story, and she was like, "Oh, okay." So she did the healing, and I literally I saw this huge big hand come in and claw and gently persuade this thing off of me, and took it off, and then this sort of portal opened in her room, and it flew off, and then it closed, and she said, "It's taking it away." And then she did some healing on it, and I was like, "Wow, that, that was powerful." I was like, "Okay, I think I definitely need to learn how to tap into the dragons more and how to use them." And then she took me on some journeys where I met the sort of the three main dragons. I can't say three main dragons that I work with, and that's Agatha, Sophia, and Georgie. And there are many other dragons that come and go, and I work with, but those ones are sort of like my power animals, my spirit guides, and they're always there, and I use them in mundane things like, "Can you please protect me when I'm driving up to my parents? It's a 6-hour drive. Please." And I imagine one in front, one above, one behind, protecting me. So I do them for that. I ask them for that, and I ask them like, "When I'm going into town, can you find me a parking space?" And so I ask simple things, and they're a bit like puppies. They're happy to help, but they're also huge, powerful beings as well. But they somebody said to me that they're so powerful that they're actually a bit bored because they can do anything. So when you ask them to do something, they're like, "Oh yeah, let's go help that human." So mine help me with that, but they also help now with the shamanic healing. So I'm now doing the extractions and soul retrieval and helping people with their souls and their traumas and their past lives, and the dragons, first of all, are there for me for protection. So I always call them in, and before I do things like this, I call them in, and I ask them to give me a safe space, and maybe give me wisdom if it's possible. I'll talk to them. I go on shamanic journeys with them, and they're there really to protect me at first, and then they'll help and they'll step in. So as a human, my ability to use the shamanic skills is limited because I'm physical, but I am holding that hollow bone or hollow reed that's connecting the energies to whoever it needs to be. But they're 10, 15, 100D beings while we're in the 3D. So they can go anywhere and do anything through time and space and the galaxies. So they're there, and I use them for that. I just say, please assist me. This is the healing we need to do, and that they will help in whatever way is needed. So yeah, beautiful beings, definitely.
I can feel a lot of power in that. It reminds me of one of those moments, and it just came to me the real impact of what had happened. I was assisting another with a clearing, and I was in this country, Canada. She
Mhm.
happened to be in, I believe, probably very not close to you, but in that same continent as yourself.
Yeah.
And her childhood home was in another continent
Mhm.
entirely. So this is kind of the energy that we were working in. And she remembers as a child levitating on the bed and this sort of
Wow.
stuff. So she wanted to clean the energy of this childhood home.
Hmm.
And because I believe that her parents also still habitated um,
Right.
that home. And so I do this thing called pyramid power clearing, and it's this beautiful uh, gift that I was given by the divine. And in doing that, one of the steps is making sure that everything is for the highest good, for the most benevolent reasons, the greatest good of all. Something very similar to what you're saying in different terms. And from there, when it gets to a certain degree of, okay, I, the human, can only do this much, who do we call in? Well, in this instance, this magnificent, massive, white, pure white dragon came in to assist with that. And I'm just really realizing how that all came together just now. So I really appreciate what you have said in this today. Wow, I'm just sitting in this. That's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
they're powerful beings, and I mean, one of the things that they said to me was that they give you. I find they give you a little task. If you say, because often our guides come in, spirit guides, whatever they, power animals, whatever you want to call them, and they're assisting us. And sometimes it's good to stop and appreciate that and say, is there something I can do for you? And I'll do that. And sometimes they'll just say, well, yeah, we would like this. And I'll say, okay, well, what would you like? And a few of them have said, well, would you, like for one example, they asked me to write a book. I wrote Flow of Dragons, and all that is my experience of meeting dragons, and they're saying there's many humans out there that we would love to reconnect because we've known them forever. You know, we've known them at a soul level forever, but they've forgotten us. They've forgotten that connection. So it's a bit like losing touch with your friends, but your friends always thinking, always watching you and keeping an eye on you. That's what the dragons are doing. And one of the tasks they said to me was, we would like to find our riders. And I use the term riders, and some people don't like it, but when I say riders, I mean friend, soulmate, and maybe you will get to ride the dragon. Not everyone does, but if you do, it's quite an experience. And I often go on journeys with people, and they do get to ride their dragon and fly through the realms, and it's beautiful, and they can take you anywhere galactically. Um, so yeah, so that they do ask you, and if you're willing to assist them and you do assist them, then they'll come back and ask you even bigger things to do for them. And yeah, so whenever you meet a dragon, often there's going to be a task associated, but sometimes they're just there to be a friend. Maybe you're in a moment in your life where you need a friend, and they're there just to come and sit with you. I know people that literally just have a cuddle with their dragon, and on those days where they're feeling a bit anxious, they call in their dragon. The dragon gives them a great big cuddle. You can imagine a dragon wrapped around you, keeping you nice and warm. And some dragons aren't just scaly; some are feathered, some are furry. They're all a bit different. So you don't think that they're just cold lizard-like things. There can be many different varieties of them.
you know, I just want to really ask that everybody kind of listens to what's being said here. There are so many little tidbits, so many little pieces, and I'm so appreciative. I really make a point of thanking my guides, and it's for the simplest thing. I mean, if unbeknownst to me, I find my own parking spot, I will still thank the guides, even though I haven't asked them for a parking spot. I still thank my guides. I thank my guides for the day I'm having. I thank my guides consistently. Your question, though, is there something I can do for you with regards to the guides? That's a game changer. That really is a game changer, because now we're no longer um, we're becoming more of an active participant in all of it with that question. Wow.
Yeah,
Very, very impactful.
it's a powerful one, and yeah, you have to mean it as well. Yeah,
Oh
because
yeah.
they will ask you to do something that maybe is outside your comfort zone.
What I love about that, though, is that upon doing it, you have stretched your own horizons, stretched out of the box that you're in, and you are now that much more capable of growth within yourself because of that. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they, like all wise beings, they will set you tasks they know will be just outside your comfort zone, and they know that's going to grow your comfort zone. They know that they're not going to ask you to do something that's
Yeah.
impossible. Yeah, yeah, they might ask you something that's quite a stretch.
Yeah. Now I know you've said this, but I'm going to kind of hone in a little bit more, because you've said about the book, you've said about different things, but what is one of the things that the dragons have asked of you that has done that, really asked you to kind of stretch in a way that felt uncomfortable?
Yeah, I mean the first one was literally to use them in healing. So
Mm,
that was fundamental, and that grew the trust. So they would say use us in the healings and trust us to do things. So that was the first bit, and that was like a small step. It wasn't too uncomfortable. And then my three main dragons, I'd have meetings with them all the time and go on journeys with them and say, okay, I'm learning this, I'm learning that. How can I use you? You know, we can use us here, use us there. And then one day they sort of called me. I was like, oh, they don't normally call me. So I was like, okay. So I went on my shamanic journey. I go on the shamanic journey to lower realms, which is an alternative reality to this, and it's easier to be there with them, and it's easier for them to come in. So I sat there. There were three of them sitting around like a little circle. So I sat there. I was like, okay, like when you go to the headmaster or headmistress, oh, what have I done? And they were like, we've got this idea. I was like, okay, we'd like you to start a summit. I was like, okay, but why? Because not just us, but all of our other dragon friends are looking for their riders. We want to reconnect. We want that to reconnect that soul connection. Um, so, and there's many people out there like you that are working with dragons that are maybe slightly afraid to talk about it openly. So we want you to pull a few together. I was like, okay, how many? What, 4 or 5? I was thinking it. They're like, yeah, that's a good start. I was like, oh. So I came back to this reality. I was like, okay, who do I know that talks about dragons? There's the original Caroline, the Dragon Lady. I can contact her. And so I contacted 3 or 4 people, and they were all like a bit cautious, like, who's this guy? What's he after? But they're all like, yeah, we'll do that. And then the dragons said, I've got 4 or 5. They're like, okay, well, don't worry, we'll send you some more. I was like, okay, fair enough. And literally, my emails start coming in saying, I've heard that you're starting a Dragon Summit. What's this about? And before I knew it, I had 30 people, speakers, people that had been working with dragons for their whole lives, 30, 40 years, to people that had just recently met theirs and were interested in sharing their story. And before I knew it, I used my technology skills that I'd spent 4 decades honing in corporate and set up this summit. And in 2023, we had 11 people live, 19 recordings, and it's all in a thing called the Dragon Portal, which is basically a system where you can go in, and it was all totally free. And that the dragons were all very happy because they met in the end. I think it was 1,588 people signed up for it. So, and each of those people has had a chance to look at each of those beautiful people talking about dragons, and some of us resonated with that person or that guy or that lady. Some people channeled, some people shared some healings. It was beautiful, and I got to watch every single one of them. So my understanding of dragons went whoom, galactic.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then they were like, "What? That was a success. You can do another one in 2024. We want you to do 24 hours of dragons this time with 24 live speakers." So this one, the link here is 21st of July, and we're starting at midnight on the Sunday, and but that's in UK, but we're starting in Australia. We're going to have 8 speakers, then we're coming to the UK, we've got 8 speakers, then we're going to the Americas and we've got 8 speakers. So we've got 24 live speakers and also 20 at the moment recordings. So yeah, and Sandra's one of them. So it's going to be full on. I mean, if anyone actually stays for the full 24 hours, well done. And just to say, I'm not the only host. That I've got 2 people doing each lot. So we each get to represent sort of four speakers, which is beautiful because the energy is huge. And last time sitting with 11 speakers, one of the speakers put a cord on us, so we were attached to the earth. I needed it because by the time I'd been through those 11, I was galactic, and I'd like to pull myself back. So yeah, that's sort of the biggest thing, and just the stepping out and asking people if they wanted to join this summit that had never happened before, from some unknown person that had only met dragons recently. My ego was like, oh no, I don't want to do this. But I took the courage of the inner dragon that we were talking about recently, and like, okay, I can press that email, done. I can send a message to that person. I can get them on Facebook. I can have a chat with them and see if they're interested. And that's what it did, and it just grew and grew and grew and grew. And I absolutely love it. I just love listening to each of the speakers. They're all different in their own way, but there's this main thing through the middle of it of dragons, and the fact that the dragons love us and they're our best friends and they want to look after us. You know, they're like our guardian angels in many ways.
I absolutely love this. Uh, it's so neat to have witnessed, like really, I'm only in the 3rd and the 4th year, but to witness the growth and the way it's beginning to snowball. I mentioned earlier to you today when we were in a different conversation about how, and I'm sure you're well aware of this as well, that 2024, 2025, dragon energy is really amping up. Humanity is shifting in such a massive way. The shifts that are happening right now are beyond belief in some cases. And I mean, I could go off on a whole tangent and just tell you what's even happened in the last 24 hours with myself, as I'm sure many of us can do. The thing is though, if you're catching this, there's a reason why you're catching this. If the English mystic is sliding across your screen in some manner, dragons are asking you to pay attention, because there is so much that can be done when we step into this in the collective unit that's coming together. Like Kevin here said, there was 1,582, I think is the number you quoted, as the people who signed up. Well, there's a ripple effect from that, plus the speakers, plus the hosts of all of this. Like, there is such an incredible ripple effect of positive energy that's happening. Yes, there may be some little quirks and bumps here along the way, as you can imagine, just like in a dragon's tail. And I want to say something about that too. I love that you mentioned the different types of dragons, because I actually have one of these dragons that is very much like there's the movie I think it's called Monsters Inc., where there's the big kind of bluish purple guy and they're opening up the bedroom closets of kids. That's what mine is kind of made of, and it's just this beautiful soft little and I say little, but it's not a little dragon. It just has this beautiful softness to it. It's not the big rugged one that you would think. Again, humans have interpreted the energy of things in their own manner. And dragons are starting to find those of us who want to help represent them in the ways that empower everybody, not just the dragons. And I think that's probably one of the biggest messages that's coming across with your Dragon Thunder and the Galactic Dragon Thunder that's coming up this year.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, as always, society has got a view, and that view is a little bit skewed. and the beautiful thing is we're in the West, and one of the things I wanted was some idea of what it was like in the East with the dragons, because they don't see them as those fire dragons with lots of scales that have killed people and stolen the gold. They always saw them as beautiful beings that were assisting. And so I've met someone that's from Tokyo, and we're in a chat soon, and she's going to be on the Dragon Thunder as well. So we'll get to see both sides of it, and I love that. I'm hearing the beautiful side, and there's a whole society that has loved dragons. You know, you can just the Chinese and the Japanese, they just love them. While we've always sort of like seen them as a bit like witches, a bit evil and bad, but they're not. And well, I think we're all, the tide is turning. You see it in all the films where the dragons are helping the queens and all the rest of it, aren't they? You know, it's definitely changed, which is beautiful. And I'm sure the dragons have got a hand in that. And I'm sure there's quite a few people in Hollywood that secretly have got dragons that are assisting them.
Yeah. You know, with that comes to mind a couple different words, especially. I know I've been very conscious of the words that I've used on my day-to-day basis, and will actively stop talking and change words.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the two words that I really am very conscious of is the unleashing versus the harnessing. In no means do I ever want to harness the energy of dragon energy, but I love to unleash that energy so that it has the power to do things. And when I say power, even versus force, when we do this with the love in our heart, when we're connecting in from a space of really wanting to serve and help, it's really, again, very remarkable what can unfold from that. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. We have, really kind of done this beautiful circle, and I can feel the energy of our dragons all around us and the very, very power of that. I'm going to ask you two questions. The first question I'd like to ask you is, first of all, what dragon message is coming through for people who are watching past, present, and future?
The one that always comes through from the dragons is that they're there. They love you. They've always been there. And whether you believe in you've got a soul, past lives, or whatever, let's forget about that bit. But they're here now. And the most important moment in your life is now, in this very moment. And you can choose in this very moment to open your heart and ask your dragon or dragons, you might have many, to come in. Just you can do it as simply as that. And they will come in, and it will be gentle. It may, if they're trying to wake you up, it's a bit different, but if you're asking them in, it'll be gentle, and just connect to them, and don't worry about the color and what they look like and the rest of it. Just connect to them as you would a new person you just met. So you've gone on a dinner date, you just met this new person. Ask them questions, ask them all the questions, and the only person that truly knows the answer is the dragon that you're connecting with. All the other people out there's lots of them are very beautiful and they can give you a perspective, but the only way of truly knowing is by you connecting with your heart to that dragon and having that conversation, having that relationship, and building that relationship. And it's not something that's going to take one chat. It's going to take a lot of them. Same as if you met a new partner, it takes a while to get to know each other and trust each other, and do that with your dragons. And think of them as your guardian angels. You use them to give you courage. Use them to help you find that life you really want. Yeah. So yeah, that's what's coming through.
I could just feel the power in that. And you may notice that I say that a lot when I have conversations with people like yourself. I could feel the power of that. Thank you so much, because I think people really needed to hear that. it's in the simplicity. We're not asking you guys to grow wings of your own. We're not asking you guys to, change anything about yourself other than being open and listen, right? And ask
Yeah.
from your heart. My second question to you is something that we kind of spoke about earlier. I'm very much into this beautiful inner dragon energy. And
Mm.
now, with you in mind, answering from a personal point of view, if you could do anything in the world, and really this inner dragon energy was in full bloom within yourself, what
Mm.
would you be doing?
That
How would you
already
use
know.
that inner dragon
Yeah.
energy?
I see this summit expanding and expanding and expanding and expanding. I see it not just being me. Like this time around, we've got people in Australia, we've got people in the Americas, people in Europe. And I see people taking the idea and running with it in their area. So it's no ownership here. The Dragons asked me to start it. That's fine. After that, everyone else needs to run with it. And I'm seeing that. I'm seeing people have got their dragon tails like yours, and you've got people with their dragon talks, and it's I can see just from last year's summit that it's expanding, and each area is doing their own thing, which is perfect. And that's the way it needs to be. But I see it getting bigger and bigger and bigger, more and more people joining it. And maybe the summit runs 4 times a year. And the thing that's in many of our hearts is that at some point we all meet together physically, and not just over this wonderful internet thing. So that's where I see it going, and I just see it growing, and more people coming along and talking openly about it. And somebody did a post the other day saying that I imagine eventually we'll be talking about dragons in the same way that we openly talk about, let's say, Reiki, which is everyone seems to sort of know about, most people, everyone, but yeah. And I just imagine that where we all talk about guardian angels. That's a well-known thing that we've got guardian angels, and I can imagine us all start talking about our guardian dragons and our dragon friends without it being something that people raise an eyebrow to and think, strange person. I just see it, and I've seen that in the last 12 months. It just grown and grown and grown and grown, which is beautiful.
I so appreciate what you just said. I know within my own community that it is common to speak of dragons. It's not uncommon at all, and everybody is so in tune with it. And those that aren't, they're willing to explore what that means for them. So uh, I've got a couple pieces here that I wanted to show people. First of all, please do remember the EnglishMystic.com/ capital T for Thunder 2024. You can sign up to watch it coming up in July. This is going to be live just before it is. If you're watching this after July of 2024, still you can find access to it by reaching out through this feed. You can find this beautiful gentleman on YouTube, and you'll be able to get in touch with him that way too by making a comment on any of his videos. And he actually has a beautiful special offer for us. So, what would you like to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's a beautiful one. That's from my three dragons. So Agatha, Sophia, and Georgie, and each one is a specific healing that's very beautiful, not too powerful, and just nice and relaxing and cleansing for your whole auras and your chakras. And the energy of the dragons is in there. So yeah, do check those out and feel that beautiful warmth and loving energy from the dragons.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I highly recommend that if anything caught your ear or you heard something in here, I definitely would go back and rewind this and listen to it again. Have a pen and paper handy to make little notes if you want. Grab those links too for yourself. And I just really want to extend a massive, massive thank you, first of all, to the dragons for bringing us together and for your role in how you're bringing dragon energy in for humanity. You're so appreciated. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you very much, Sandra.
Bye, everybody.